welcome you. Wherever you come from, we welcome you. Whomever you love, we welcome you. Whoever you are, we welcome you. Wherever you come from, we welcome you. Whomever you love, we welcome you.
Good morning, everyone. I am Megan Rancier, and I will be presenting service today along with Noel McCluney. Robin Perry and Kevin McCluney are providing technical assistance. Thank you all so much for tuning in today. We're glad that we can keep in touch and support our community, even if we can't be together in person. Please be aware that we are recording this service and it will be posted on our Facebook and YouTube pages, except that we are now turning off the recording during joys and concerns, just so that people know. We seek inspiration and meaning from a great many faith traditions and philosophies. We support each other's lifelong spiritual journey, and we encourage work for justice and peace. We value open minds and loving hearts. Here, may our minds stretch, our hearts open, and our spirits deepen. Please take a moment to think of all your friends at MVUUC. Greet them with a comment in the chat box, and remember that you can still reach out to them through email, phone, social media, or video chat. Physical distancing does not need to mean emotional distancing. Let us support one another. And I don't have a bowl, so I'll just play a little note on my flute. Not quite as beautiful as the bowl. Visitors, as we are a diverse group with varying interests and beliefs, our services are varied in format, tone, and topic. We encourage you to view several services to gain a good understanding of our congregation. If you'd like to receive our weekly email newsletter, please email us at news@mvuuc.org. And that email is in the chat box. MVUUC remains committed to supporting our members and friends during this difficult time of social distancing. For that reason, we are coordinating assistance with groceries, phone calls, and other needs. If this sounds like something that would be helpful to you, please send an email to sac@mvuuc.org with your name and what kind of assistance you would like to request. Now is the time for announcements. Announcements can be sent ahead of time to services@mvuuc.org to be read. If you have an important announcement now, you can raise your hand by clicking the raise hand button in the reactions tab in Zoom. You can find that at the bottom of the Zoom window. Then we will announce your name and turn on your mic and camera so you can make your announcement yourself. Robin, are there any announcements today?
Yes, there is an announcement from Winnie Rex that the discussion group, which was formerly the Spirit and Practice group, will meet today, March 21st at 1 p.m. on Zoom. They will be discussing 2 possible programs for use in their continuing discussion. You can contact Winnie Rex at winrexx@gmail.com if you would like to join their meeting to decide the direction of the group in the future. Noel has her hand up, so I will.
Okay. Hi, everyone. I just had a few announcements. I'll talk about some of these again later, but just thought off the top, I'll get them out there. If you look in the service announcement for this morning, we have linked the pledge packets. There's a big red button in the newsletter that says 2021, 2022 pledge packets. So that's where that is. But again, I'll talk about that later. I also really wanted you guys to know that on April 4th, so that's Easter. We're going to be doing kind of an in-person, outdoor, masked, socially distanced, like a coffee hour type thing, like a little social thing outside of the church. And we're also going to have the Easter egg hunt for the kids. So kind of we're starting to kind of ease into maybe doing some outdoor services and then hopefully progress from there. So put that on your calendar to join us there. I know the kids are excited. We announced it at RE today. So join us, we can all socialize while the kids run around. Also, this is kind of Robin's thing, but on March 27th, we're going to do like a B movie where we watch a movie together virtually. So check that out in the newsletter. I just didn't want people to miss that. So make sure you're reading that newsletter. Oh, I do know that some people are having trouble with website access. Keep letting me know if that's an issue. We're trying to problem solve what's going on there. So I think that's all my announcements for now. Okay.
And then Lisa has an, so let me get to that.
Hi, I just wanted to remind everyone that on, I'm gone. There. That on April 3rd, we're having our next blood drive. And there are still appointments available if you would like to sign up or get your friends to sign up or your family to sign up. We need your blood. So that's April 3rd from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. And if you have any questions, you can contact me. I'll put my email in the chat, and you can sign up yourself online, or I can sign you up. Just let me know.
All right, and then Megan put some in the chat. So remember that today is the day that you can go by the church and drop off any donations that you have for the cocoon. Megan will be there from 1 to 3 p.m. to get your items, or you can donate directly to the cocoon by ordering from their Amazon wish list, and that is linked in the recent newsletter. The next Social Action Committee meeting will be on March 31st at 7 p.m. via Zoom. The next Anti-Racism Book Club will be on April 1st at 7 p.m. via Zoom as well. And then Noel also says that book club has been amazing, so she encourages everyone to join us for some stimulating conversation. And I believe that is all of our announcements for today.
Thank you, Robin. I will be lighting the chalice today. Please join me in reading the words for the chalice lighting that appear as a comment in the chat box. As we light our chalice today, let us remember that we are part of a great community of faith. May this dancing flame inspire us to fill our lives with the Unitarian Universalist ideals of love, justice, and truth. For our opening words today, we will watch a pre-recorded video address titled, "Let Us Mark This Time, the 1-year anniversary of UU's going virtual," from Reverend Susan Frederick Gray from the Unitarian Universalist Association. And this will be about 7.5 minutes.
Dear ones, this week marks the 1-year anniversary when nearly all of our congregations moved to virtual operations. Anniversaries, particularly of tragic or traumatic events, impact us whether or not we consciously acknowledge them. I'm reminded of the words of Unitarian Universalist minister Max Coots, who writes, "When holidays and holy days and such times come, when anniversaries arrive by calendar or consciousness, when seasons come as seasons do, old and known but somehow new, mark the time." And so it matters that we mark this time, the anniversary of a year like no other. So much grief, so many dear loved ones who've died, So much tragedy on a scale it is hard to comprehend. Anniversaries invite us to remember, and in a year like that, that is a heavy reality. If you are feeling fragile, grieving, depressed, forgetful, or just plain exhausted, know that you are not alone, that this is normal. It matters that we reach out when we are in need. It also matters that we give ourselves time to feel, to just be present to your emotions, to the grief and the loss. Be compassionate and gentle with yourself and with others. We are all mourning the collective trauma of this year, even as we still experience it, even as we still live with distance from loved ones, isolation, health risks, and unbelievable stress. As we mark this anniversary, we also remember all the ways that we have continued to say yes to our values, to one another, to life. Many of you have been on the front lines of the crises this year as doctors and nurses and essential workers, as chaplains and caregivers and pastors, as first responders, as religious educators and teachers, as organizers and community leaders, as artists and musicians, as loved ones and family. All saying yes to help people survive, to defend lives, to care for our children and young people, to bring reminders of beauty and grace to sustain us, to be present to those in their dying moments and to their loved ones in saying goodbye. So many of you and your communities as a whole have done so much to nurture life in this time of incredible loss. And it takes its toll. I pray that you may have moments of rest and love to renew your spirit. May you be held in the same grace and generosity in which you give. It is my hope that as we mark this anniversary, we will remember and acknowledge the sorrows, and that we will also acknowledge the things that we have learned about ourselves and about our faith. We learned more deeply what it means to center collective care and compassion in our ministries. We learned to more fully recognize our interdependence and prioritize the needs of those most vulnerable within and beyond our communities. We've extended our ministries beyond any walls, caring for our neighbors and wider communities and providing unprecedented access to our ministries online. We've opened our buildings to serve the community and save lives, to support the organizing and uprisings for racial justice. We've organized food pantries, first aid resources, homeless shelters, and distributed essential goods. We've leaned into our deep commitment to democracy, helping millions exercise their right to vote and playing a critical role in what was the largest, most accessible, and transparent election in U.S. history. We leaned into relationship across our congregations and wider association, partnering and sharing ministry like never before. We've been generous, innovative, courageous, imaginative, and loving at a time when that has been needed most. It is my greatest hope that this will have a lasting impact on our lives and our ministries. And while we have much to be proud of, many of us continue to experience real harm from this pandemic. Long-lasting illness, risks to our health, economic hardship, isolation, and grief. As we follow the hopeful developments, with greater numbers of people being vaccinated and the infection rates declining, now plateauing, may we remember to remain steadfast in our commitment to supporting the well-being of all people. And this means making decisions that reduce community spread. I know we are tired and grieving and long to be together. That day is coming. But it matters that we continue to follow the science and make decisions to support public health. As we mark this 1-year anniversary, so many things in our lives have changed. May we continue to lean more deeply into compassion and care. For these remind us that we are not alone, and they are practices that strengthen our sense of mutuality and belonging, our interdependence. And there are no more important practices or culture to develop in this time. May we continue to hold in love and care all of those who are suffering in this time. May we continue to be gentle with ourselves and our others, make room for our grief and what we are experiencing. And may each of us continue to be nurtured and supported by this faith and our communities that we hold so dear. Much love to all of you and many blessings.
And now we will listen to hymn number 1015 from Singing the Journey, titled I Know I Can, performed by Jennifer Nicolosi and the Reverend Suzelle Lynch.
Though days be dark with storms and burdens weigh my heart, the troubles wait at every turn. I know I can go when sorrow heals my soul and burdens make me strong. The troubles wait at every turn. I know I can go on. My cousin in my heart, my neighbor in my song. The troubles wait at every turn. I know I can go on. And though the journey is long, the destination is near. The troubles wait at every turn. I know I can go. So cousins, take my hand, and neighbors, sing my song. When hope awaits at every turn, I know we will go on.
All right. Well, welcome everybody. Um, I know you all probably know me, but in case anybody is new, I'm Noel McCluney. I'm the current president of the congregation. And what I like to do at this time of year is do a congregational review. So kind of like what the Reverend just did, as far as UUs in general, her kind of review of the year. This is kind of our micro review of all the amazing things we've accomplished this year at MVUUC, despite the pandemic. So I made a little PowerPoint, so I'm going to share that with you guys right now. All right, and the chat box is still active, so you can chat in there, and Megan's going to be kind of monitoring the chat box and bringing anything up that people post in there. So here we go. We start with the presentation. You can see our picture from last year's, well, not last year's, but the year before's in-person retreat. And then I threw up a little Zoom picture and have one of actually us. We should do that. We should take a picture, a screenshot of all of us during a Zoom, but just kind of to demonstrate this year. All right, so the purpose of this retreat, if you can call it a retreat, but we're going to call it a retreat, is to review what happened this year. So I already said that, to appreciate everyone that has contributed to this community. Steve, thank you for that comment in the chat that you just posted. That was right on our talk for today, and to develop plans for the future. And we've been talking about addressing our UU principles. So we'll talk about that towards the end. I always like to start with our mission. I think it's so important for any organization to always remind themselves of the mission of the organization. And ours is, we strive to be a welcoming and, hold on one second, hard to read it, be a welcoming and growing spiritual community of religious liberals, advancing acceptance, pursuing reason, nurturing love, furthering justice, and promoting peace. And I certainly think we have done that this year for sure. I like to review the organizational players, for newer people, just so they know. I know when I first started at MVUUC, I didn't really understand kind of the structure of this organization. So I always kind of like to throw it out there. So we've got the board of trustees. So that's me, and the next slide, I'll kind of say the other people, committees, which we'll go through. And then we have some employees. So Sarah Rainey-Smith-Back is our Director of Religious Education. We now have the newer position with Robin Perry being our administrative assistant. We have custodial for Bob Rex. And we're going to be adding one more position this year. So very exciting. We've got all our members, of course, and then we have our friends and visitors, right? All right, Board of Trustees. So for this year, I'm still the president. We've got Lisa Merrill-Price as our vice president. Colleen Fitzgerald is the secretary. Sam Maccabee is treasurer this year. And then we have 3 trustees, Demetrius Ingram, Megan Rancier, and David Vaughn. Okay, so now I want to just go through, I'm going to make it pretty quick this year, but this is kind of our time to celebrate all the amazing things we did this year. It's like our rah-rah moment. And when I wrote this, it really made me feel really good because, again, despite the pandemic and all the things like what the Reverend talked about that we've endured this year, we've still done an amazing lot. And so that just makes me so excited for when we are in person, just even more things that we can do. And now that we have kind of, I wouldn't say mastered, but almost mastered this type of technology, how that's going to make things even better, because now we can have accessible services where we can be in person, but if somebody needs to be at home, they can still participate in the service, whether that's because they're out of state or because they're sick or because they just can't make it in that day for some reason. If we have a snow event, we could still hold service potentially. So a lot of amazing things. I was just thinking about like book clubs. We could still have a book club. We could have it in person, but if somebody wanted to do it virtually, they could do that. So anyway, just a lot of, there are good things that came out of this year. So I think it's important to think of that. And the Reverend also pointed out all the good things of this year too. So Sunday services. We maintain quality lay-led remote services through a pandemic. I mean, I think that's something to really be proud of. And when I went back through all our services, I don't think we had a dud in there. I mean, I know I'm biased being the president, I'm also on the Sunday service committee, but I really think every single one was amazing. So thank you, everybody who helped with the services, who came in and did a service, you know, did the technology behind it. So many people, you know, contributed. You know, Steve thanked us, but we really have to thank Steve too for, especially in the beginning with the Facebook and streaming it that way and all that technology. So a lot of people to thank, too many people really that to fit on the slide. So if you look in the pledge packets on the first 2 pages of the pledge packet, the first page kind of goes through basically what I'm going through today, you know, all the things we've accomplished and the thank yous. And I did specifically put people's names on there. So check that out so that you know who to appreciate. I just wanted to highlight just a few, just so you remember. I mean, when we say at the beginning of service, like that our interests are diverse and our formats are various, I mean, we really mean it. And you know, I think that's important to know. I mean, we went from services on the chakras, you know, that Susan presented, to comfort food, to a do it on your own time meditation walk, which that's a picture right here that I took, a little dark, but I think it's just so pretty to see that walk. We had obviously this year with election, we had the UU the vote services, we had, you know, the coffee hours, which really ended up being quite nice. You know, we did one for Thanksgiving and Christmas and some other ones. We had Lou Hubert who came in and did his historical talks, which, you know, I know I've already thanked him a million times, but to me were very powerful this year. I've never been a history type person, but I tell you, this year has really changed my mind about history and how important it is. And man, so I'm trying to catch up on all the history that I never really paid too much attention to, because now I'm realizing how imperative it is to know our history and to understand it. So thank you, history people, Andy and Lou and everybody else. Obviously, Black Lives Matter was a big thing this year, you know, and us talking about the 8th principle. So we had quite a few services talking about that. Thought the last one where we had a lot of discussions was amazing. We're going to talk a little bit more about the 8th principle later in this talk. We had some great, more spiritually aimed services, Melanie Stinson, Pam Summons, you know, trying to remind our congregation that we are a diverse group of spiritual beliefs. You don't have to be, you know, a non-theist, you know, atheist or a humanist. You can be a Christian that has, you know, just different, you know, beliefs. And that's what's just so amazing about being a UU, and what really made me realize that that's what I am, is because, you know, through my history, I was, you know, I consider myself Hindu at one point. I was raised Catholic as a child. And really what I wanted to do was take like the best parts of everything and kind of create my own belief system. And that's really what to me, Unitarian Universalism is, accepting of everybody's beliefs, helping everybody reach their belief, their truth. Which is one of our principles. So there you go. Robin's great talk about community and this poster that she saw as a kid, I thought was so great. I mean, I could go on and on. I mean, Caitlin's on the spirituality of failure, that, you know, that one was, anyway, I don't want to, but so many really great ones. So if I didn't highlight yours, it doesn't mean it wasn't amazing. It was just, I didn't have enough space. So everybody feel proud of yourselves, and thank you everybody who's attended to make it worth continuing to present these. Religious education. So I know a lot of you don't have kids, so you know you're not really maybe as up on what Sarah's been doing, but I try to attend all the classes, really, because I'm that type of person that just wants to learn everything. And so I'm too jealous of my children if they learn something that I don't get to learn, but also because she does such an amazing job. So she's been doing religious education via Zoom on Sundays before our service. Her format generally has been finding like a book that talks about one of our principles or values. Now she's been doing spring holidays Today she talked about Holi, which is an Indian festival of colors, which was incredible. And now we really want to have a festival of colors at MVUUC. So you might see that coming, because that just is too fun and too UU not to do. She also did an amazing virtual Hogwarts summer camp. I mean, talk about, I mean, she always does such an amazing Hogwarts camp, but for her to also be able to transition it to virtual was quite amazing. Let me show you some pictures. So here's some of her services, classes she did. Again, she's doing some spring holidays right now. Oh, we talked about the soul, which was really interesting for the kids to talk about. So that picture in the top is from that movie, I think it's Soul, where it's about little souls and whatnot. But she did that during the service, I think, that Melanie gave. Or somebody gave that was kind of like on that topic. So it was interesting to hear the kids' perspectives on what is the soul and whatnot. I subbed for her one day, and I did one right here, you see on the bottom, about a woman's experience when she first started wearing hijab to school. And that was really interesting, how she got bullied, and yet she still had to stay true to herself. And it was interesting to hear the kids' reactions to that book. So really, really cool stuff. Everybody, she did come and talk about the stuffy sleepovers. I know some of us have heard about this, but really cute idea. And she's so creative, where the kids dropped off their favorite stuffed animal. And she kind of did little activities with the stuffed animals that she videotaped and took pictures of. So this is one of them. This little vulture here is Desmond's, because if you know Desmond, he loves birds, so that was his. And this little lemur here was Malcolm's, and you can see Ardian's. And so anyway, it was really cute. I think even Robin dropped off the stuffed animal. So really, really cute ideas. Here's some pictures of the Hogwarts camp. These are my kids. I took a picture of all the materials that she dropped off. So each class had a bag of materials. So whoever was a Hogwarts professor knows kind of what was in their bag. But we had owl pellets for some of the classes. I did one on yoga, and this is all the materials they got. And then if you see this picture of Desmond sitting at the table, he's got his Switch there, because not only did she do it via Zoom and these materials, but she also had the kids in Minecraft, which is like a virtual world. That they had a Hogwarts simulation basically, and all the kids could interact and do scavenger hunts within that virtual Minecraft world. So really cool stuff. Here they are painting for one of the classes. So just in case you didn't know about Hogwarts, it's pretty amazing. So I threw in this, not because it's a children's religious education, but I think it counts for adult religious education. And this is that Spirit and Practice program that Winnie Rex led, which again was amazing. She followed the curriculum for us and helped lead us each week, talking about one of these, what do they call it, little areas of spiritual growth. So really, really great conversations. And that's what spurred the further on we want to keep talking discussion group. So they're going to be meeting today, actually, after service, I believe, to talk about what further programs we want to do. So really neat stuff. So I thank Winnie for spearheading that, and everybody who participated. Building and grounds. So I wanted to mention we have a new fire monitoring system. Woo! This has been a labor of love, and I have to thank Rich Dedes especially, but other people as well, Lisa and David, and probably a lot of other people I don't even know that have been. I think Bob helped with opening the church to get this installed. What a pain, guys. This was a pain to get done, but something that really needed to be done. It was super outdated, our system. It could not be fixed so that we could use the system that we had. just too outdated. The old company was not very good company. So now we're able to have a different company. So that's really good. So I know it's not something super glamorous, having a new fire monitoring system, but it's important, right? It keeps us safe, keeps the building safe. And yeah, so thank you everybody for getting that done. We also planted a tree. I know it doesn't look like much right now, but you know, it's the first start, and here's a little tree, and we're hopeful to eventually plant more trees and really try to beautify our campus more. We removed the old play set. You'll see in our budget in the pledge packet, we're gonna be getting a new play set, kind of relocating it. I've been talking to Sarah about ways that we're going to kind of improve the setup of RE, and one of them is putting the play set near the RE area, and more to talk about on that. And then obviously the building has been maintained. Even though we haven't been there, it still needs to be maintained. So we thank Bob and everybody else who still kept checking in on the building, cleaning what needed to be cleaned, and keeping it safe for us until we got back. Caring community. Obviously, this has been a year, right? We've had quite a few members who have lost loved ones. We have lost members. Jim Bisland comes to mind, and just other people going through struggles with just isolation of the pandemic and all other things. So we thank everybody who helped with the caring community, sending flowers or cards, bringing groceries, all that. And we think of all those that have suffered even especially in this area this year. Membership. We completed our congregational survey for the UUA, so they know how many of us are here and whatnot. I threw in that, we updated the website. I think that goes along with membership. I think, having the website updated will hopefully help bring in potentially some new members. Our Facebook postings have been improved. Robin's spearheading that and getting on more of a schedule of posting more regularly, because we know in this day and age, social media is important. We continued our weekly newsletter so that everybody can know what everybody else is doing, so that we continue to appreciate all the good works. And I threw in here that we paid our UUA dues. I mean, I think that's pretty amazing. For many years, we weren't able to budget that in, because it's a hefty number, but we were able to do that this year, and I think I feel really good about that, supporting the UUA. I think more than ever we need to support the UUA so that our values can be even more powerful in this world. Fellowship. Did some fun virtual game nights. I learned how to play Sushi Go, which I think is a really fun game if you haven't played it. A little wine and cheese night that we had, virtual yoga with Susan. I mean, she says she has so many, has quite a few attendees that she doesn't really need to advertise, I think is what she said. So that's awesome that people are joining her for that, even during this time. So let's see. Fellowship. Oh, started the garden. I threw this in fellowship. I know this is Megan and Hannah's baby, but it fits, I think, with fellowship. Really cool to see those gardens. Like, I couldn't even remember, was it this year that you guys planted it? And it was this year. I mean, it just grew. It was just, I felt like it'd always been there, and it was so established even in a year. And you can see my kids here picking tomatoes, and I'm not a tomato fan, but those tomatoes were quite amazing. I didn't realize how different they taste, right off the vine. And I think that maybe was a particular type of tomato as well, potentially. And we got eggplant. So if you didn't get to check that out, hopefully this year, I know there's plans to grow the garden even more. And you'll be able to check that out. So very cool stuff. Social action. We did a lot. Well, Megan, again, spearheaded this one, but everybody contributing. The vote obviously was a big one. Susie's coats. You can see Megan here, a picture with, I believe, Susie. Yeah, donating those coats. The Humane Society, oh, I said Human Society, it's supposed to be Humane Society, Brown Bag Project, the Red Cross Blood Drive that Lisa spearheads. So awesome, awesome. The book club. I had to mention the book club because it's been so powerful for me this year. I didn't participate with the first book that you guys read, the How Not to Be a How to Be an Anti-Racist, but I've been participating with White Fragility, and wow, my mind has been opened. I'm seeing things that I never saw before. I mean, I've talked about this in the book club. I admit I didn't really think racial issues were that big a deal. Being, I guess, a white person, I haven't experienced that kind of thing as much. And so I was kind of blind to it. So reading this book, I realized all the things that I just didn't see. So really, if you haven't read one of these books, or if you ever want to jump in, I really, really encourage you to do so. You'll see that, we really are an interconnected web. And without people like us being allies to help people of color, it's, we need to be allies. Basically my feeling. We also sponsored the BLM Awards in Toledo, so very cool. We're really trying to put action behind our beliefs, which we'll talk about when we get to the future. So finance, they met quarterly, so great, guys. I know it's a challenge. You created a proposed budget for the board, so we thank you for that. Just kind of get that going. They're handling the pledge campaign for the board this year, so thank you. Just take something off us. Generally the pledge campaign is supposed to be run by like another committee, like a special pledge committee, but that's been hard to get going. So finance agreed to kind of help manage that this year. So thank you. The pledge packets I already mentioned are in your newsletter that came out today, the service announcement, but you'll probably be also getting it again in another way from the finance committee. Please turn in your pledges by 4/11. So that'll give us time to really look at our budget and kind of redo things based on what our pledges are. So please get those in so we can really plan. If you have any budget questions, I mentioned Winnie wanted me to kind of point it out. So look through that pledge packet, look through that proposed budget. If you have questions, go ahead and send them to me, and then I'll either bring them to the board or to the finance committee to get those answered for you, so that when we meet for the congregational meeting in May, things can just go smoothly. You don't even need to, maybe bring up as much because you'll already have those questions, and we could maybe fix anything that came up from those. All right, so now we get to talking about the future. So we did, you just saw how awesome we did, all the awesome things. So now we get to talk about, okay, well, this upcoming year, what is our plans? So we're gonna obviously keep going with a lot of those things, the book club, the collection drives, all the things we're already doing that are great. These are some additional things that we wanted to talk about specifically for this year. So gradual return to in-person services and activities following CDC guidelines, right? That's a hope as people get more vaccinated, as the weather gets nicer, so we can be outside at least to start, where it's a little safer, and then slowly, as things progress, returning to being in the building. I already mentioned in the beginning, but April 4th, we're going to do an egg hunt at church. We thought that was kind of perfect. This way the kids can do the egg hunt. We also thought we would do like an adults coffee hour type thing at the same time. So adults can come, kind of socialize with each other. We're still asking for masks, still, distance, we'll still be outside. So it's pretty safe. A lot of us are vaccinated. So, it should be pretty safe. Obviously, if you're not comfortable with that, we understand. We do plan to have a remote option that day as well. So do a coffee hour via Zoom like we've done before. We may or may not have someone facilitating that, but it'll still be available. So you can still pop into Zoom, talk to whoever else is in that wants that access that way. So we're trying to make it good for everybody. Sarah has plans for an egg hunt and also a scavenger hunt for the kids, so you can come and watch them. And I'm just praying for a really beautiful day like we have today. So let's hope that's my picture, that April 4th, it's just gonna be beautiful. Everybody's standing outside. My kids are asking for, since it's coffee hour, are we gonna have juice boxes for the kids and those things? So we'll think about maybe having a little table of things, but done obviously with COVID safety guidelines in mind. But so put that on your calendar. We hope to see you there. Okay, improve the building and campus. So this is something that's come up a lot. A lot of people have been asking for this. We have that big space there, also our building. What things can we do to really improve the beauty and the building? Our number one thing is we want to upgrade our HVAC system. This has been a need for many years. It's a big cost. It's not a cheap thing, kind of like a roof, but it's something that's really needed. It will have a lot of benefits, utilities wise. It'll help reduce our utilities. It'll just work better with keeping our building the right temperature. Our hope is to have the AC too. So especially in the summer, like I think of Hogwarts, it won't be so terrible with the heat. We're also talking about if we can get a system that helps with the circulation, then that's a really good benefit for pandemic type things, to have good ventilation. So a lot of benefits to that system. So we'll be talking more about that, and we still have, get a lot of quotes and things and what we want to actually do for that exact system. But that's the plan. That's the hope, based on our budget, based on really our pledges that we get this year. Double the size of our garden. I mentioned that. So I know that's on Megan and Hannah's plans, and already in our budget to increase our garden. And then the play sets, getting a new play set for RE. We're going to hire a service coordinator. So this is something that the Sunday Service Committee has been talking about for a long time. And we have our job description and we've got it in the budget. So we're going to start advertising for somebody to fill this role. It's going to be we estimate about 5 hours a week. And it's basically somebody to help us put the services together, to kind of coordinate, putting all the things together, whether that's the chalice lighting, the readings, kind of putting it into that script, potentially reaching out to speakers that could come in, maybe from another church or organization, or a professor, kind of helping us coordinate with that, because it's a big job running the Sunday service. So we could use somebody to help us in that area. So that's that. And then we're going to continue activities, right? Collection drives, book club, all those things. So that's our basic plan. We also want to officially adopt our principles. So if you were in the service we did on the 8th principle, we looked at our bylaws and we recognized that we haven't actually officially adopted the 7. So we thought, well, before we officially adopt the 8, or maybe at the same time, we should look into that. So at our congregational meeting, we'll look at those principles and kind of make it official, so we can add it to our bylaws if it's voted in. So I don't want to presume, but that's the idea. Okay, so on that topic of the principles, I don't even remember what discussion, but some of the discussions we've been having this year, we really thought, I think especially when we talk about the 8th, we really wanted to come up with, well, what is our action? Like, how do we put this into action, not just lip service, right? And then we realized, you know what, we should really do that for all our principles. Now, if we go through, you can see we're already doing a lot, and a lot of these overlap, but we just thought it would be cool to get some more ideas, like how could we really address each of these principles from you all. So I'm going to ask you in the chat box, I'm going to read the principle, and I want you to think, like, how could our congregation address this year? So different ideas, and we're going to kind of collect all these ideas, and then the board will meet and we'll choose at least one from each principal to commit to doing this year. There might be more depending on what they are, but we want to have at least one for each principal that we commit to, and then hopefully when we do this review service again next year, we can rah and say these are all the awesome things we did. So the first one we have is our principle number 1, which is the inherent worth and dignity of every person. So if you could, so it's kind of like what Andy did, kind of polling the whole congregation, put in the chat box one way that we can put into action this principle. And it could be something that maybe we're already doing, but if you have ideas for other ways too, that's great as well.
And just to prompt people's ideas, it can be in connection with an organization that you're familiar with, maybe somebody who's already working on issues related to these principles. I always say with brainstorming, don't pass judgment. Don't pass judgment on your ideas. Just anything goes. So feel free to just let whatever comes from the top of your head and put that in the chat box. So we already have a few ideas. It says maybe we can do a small bio of members in the newsletter. So individual MVUUC members. Oh, Lynn says, Noel, you're awesome, and she loves having you as her president. I think that's relevant. There's one, let's see. Yeah, so maybe an emphasis on how UUism or MVUUC specifically was founded. There's a suggestion of continuing and expanding support for LGBTQ+ and BIPOC communities. Absolutely. And to clarify the term BIPOC, yeah, so Sarah already beat me to it, but it's an acronym for Black, Indigenous, People, and People of Color. So, okay, so there's an advanced course on the Welcoming Congregation program that we could look into. We could start an online community where we share things in good condition to reduce consumption. So if one person needs an alarm clock or somebody wants to get rid of a table, that would be a good way of sharing resources and reducing waste. People continuing to share their own spiritual journeys. Yeah, that would be really interesting to learn more about each other and our individual spiritual journeys. Question about Toledo Pride. So Toledo Pride, yeah, we have participated in that for many years. I'm not sure if it's happening this year. I don't know if they've decided that yet, but that is a really important one.
Yeah, great ideas. And you guys will see that they overlap, right, with some of the other principles. So I'm going to go to the next one because I'm already seeing some things that kind of go with the next principle as well.
Mm-hmm.
So justice, equity, and compassion in human relations. So I think we had. Yeah.
So someone is advertising that they have an entertainment center and a king-size bed frame that are in quite good condition if anyone is interested. Oh.
Yeah.
Let's see. Lynn Pearson, I think this is related to the first principle, but she says the UUA has a process to renew the welcoming congregation designation. So that's definitely something we could look into. So for the second principle, I know that a number of our congregation members have been getting involved with organizations in our local communities. So for example, Not in Our Town is one of them. Another of them is La Conexión, which I think is now part of the Northwest Ohio Immigration Network. So these are organizations that are also already doing very important work.
Yeah, great ideas, guys.
Yeah, if people could report back on other organizations that they are part of, and keeping those lines of communication open, I agree that would be a great idea, spiritual or otherwise. Oh, multi-faith council. Yeah, great suggestion.
And we've got our third principle, acceptance of one another and encouragement to spiritual growth in our congregations. So I know Marilyn posted about more people talking about their spiritual journey. I think that goes in here. Any other ones? I'm just noticing the time. So sorry, guys. I talked a little long today.
Okay.
Good stuff.
I have to say, because the Spirit in Practice series seems to have been so successful, and Winnie is leading the continuation of that. I feel like that's a really great connection to the third principle. Keeping that going would be great.
And this one kind of goes together, a free and responsible search for truth and meaning. Goes with that as well. The right of conscience and the use of the democratic process within our congregations and in society at large. That's kind of what I'm trying to do here, right? So democratic, people putting in their ideas for our future. So, I love the democratic and team approach to everything.
Yeah, so, and Pam reminds everyone that we're meeting today about Spirit in Practice. So there will be a meeting after service today. Updating our bylaws definitely relates to the fifth principle. Spirituality themed book club, I think that was related to the third or the fourth principle. Yeah, and I agree with Lisa. I think people expect the retreat service to be longer.
Good. Sorry, guys.
There was another suggestion of continuing to support UU the Vote, getting involved with UU the Vote, which, by the way, folks, that's not only relevant for presidential elections. This organization is always working to improve voter education and registration. Oh, okay. So there's another swapping items note in the chat. Colleen has a vaccine appointment that she doesn't need. So contact her if you want to coordinate signing up at the same time that she cancels. Thanks, Colleen.
We've got the sixth principle, the goal of world community and with peace, liberty, and justice for all. Yeah. I mean, I think all of them kind of go with number 6, but yeah. And 7, the respect for the interdependent web of all existence of which we are a part, which I love John's thought on the equipment swap, because Evan said, we've got some stuff, and I'm like, what do I do with this?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know Kevin and I have been talking about getting involved with the climate action committee. Kevin, is that what it's called? Citizens for Climate Action, something like that. They work more on the obviously the climate and the environmental part of this number 7. Yeah. I know there also is a green like helping to make your congregation considered a green congregation. There you go, Lynn. UU green congregation designation. Looking into that and maybe trying to see if we can get to that, or at least towards that.
Yeah. Someone else suggested helping the community get the vaccine if they want it and help people navigate the sign up. Someone else suggested that updating our HVAC system could actually help with principle 7 because it reduces our energy consumption. Expanding our prairie, for sure. Yeah,
I would love to do that. I love that prairie back there.
Sacred grounds, yeah. So Becky has been suggesting this for a while, and it sounds like a really great initiative, kind of like Spirit in Practice, but specifically for creating more of like an environmentally friendly or native plants space on your church grounds. So Sacred Grounds is another program we could look into.
I like that. And even if we don't get to all these things this year, it's great to just have this list for the following year and be like, okay, we didn't get to this, but that kind of sets us up for that for the next year. So awesome.
And so many of these suggestions come up during the year just at random times. So it's really nice for us all to be involved in this conversation. Oh, there's a suggestion of composting potluck leftovers in the future.
Yeah.
Especially since we now have a community composting program in BG.
Yeah. Or we can maybe make one in the back potentially.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay, and then we've got our 8th principle, or hopefully eventually our 8th principle, working to build a diverse, multicultural, beloved community by our actions that accountably dismantle racism and other oppressions in ourselves and our institutions. So obviously the book club, but and maybe continuing to do that Black Lives Matter awards, but I know we've talked about other things, maybe doing a coalition with a church that is like a people of color church, their members, and doing a joint project like a Habitat for Humanity project, so we can start building kind of relationships.
There was so I'm just going to read from the chat just the last few things. Doing litter pickup for Wood County Parks. There's an e-recycling event on Saturday at the Mommy Rec Center. Yeah, bringing in community members. I will also say for the 8th principle, another idea that came up was doing a training or a series of trainings, especially for bystander training. That's definitely something that I'm planning to do in the near future.
Great ideas, guys, and feel free to keep sending them to me if things come to mind after this. But this, I think, will definitely give us a nice list to look at and plan for this year and into the future. So I thank you all for your contributions.
Yeah, thank you, everyone. So obviously that was our UU principles connection for the day, is actually this idea of putting our principles into practice. We've said it many times before, we've heard it many times in previous services that, it's not enough to just have the principles. We need to really think about how to activate them. And today's discussion, I think, was the first step in that discussion. Hopefully it will become more of an everyday approach to our principles, putting them into practice. And just so that everyone knows, the board is going to take all of the suggestions from today's service, and we'll kind of create a summary, and we'll select at least one that we plan to follow up on for each of our principles. These ideas are going to be presented at our congregational meeting on May 16th. So if you could mark your calendars for May 16th, this is going to be at noon, which is different than our normal service time. So at noon on May 16th, it'll be after service. That will be our congregational meeting, where we will hopefully do the formal adoption of our 8 principles. And we will also share the selected action items for each principle that came out of our discussion today. And there are still really great suggestions coming in through the chat, and so like salvaging large chunks of styrofoam, and Lisa just put the congregational meeting information in the chat. So yeah. Thank you, everyone. We're going to move over to the offertory now. So now more than ever, we are counting on your pledge payments and donations to help sustain and strengthen this congregation that is so important to all of us, supporting our efforts to be a community of love, truth, justice, and service. putting our principles into practice. Please click on the link in the chat box or scan the QR code and be sure to select the correct designation on the drop-down box when you donate. Thank you. Okay, so now is the time for the sharing of joys, concerns, and milestones. Closing words for today are called "The Congregation Has Left the Building" by Margaret Weiss. The congregation is not a place, it is a people. The congregation is not just a steeple above the tree line, streets, and cars. Rather, it is a people proclaiming to the world that we are here for the work of healing and of justice. The congregation is not walls built stone upon stone, held together by mortar, but rather person linked with person, linked with person. All ages and genders and abilities, a community built on the foundation of reason, faith, and love. The congregation is not just a set of doors open on Sunday morning, but the commitment, day after day, moment after moment, of our hearts creaking open the doors of welcome to the possibility of new experience and radical welcome. The congregation is not simply a building, a steeple, a pew. The congregation is the gathering together of all the people and experiences and fear and love and hope in our resilient hearts. Gathering however we can to say to the world, welcome, come in, lay down your heartache, and pick up hope and love. For the congregation is us, each and every one of us, together, a beacon of hope to this world that so sorely needs it. Please join me in reading the words for extinguishing our chalice that can be found in the comments in the chat box. We have basked in the warmth and beauty of this flame and this community. As the chalice flame is extinguished, let us carry its glow within. Let us kindle new sparks within these walls and beyond. After the service, we will turn on all videos and microphones. Please feel free to stay in Zoom and chat with your fellow MVUUC members and friends for our coffee hour. Please be patient, as turning on the cameras must be done one at a time, and it can take a few minutes to get to everyone. And now for our closing song, let us sing "Go with a Song in Your Heart." You can find the words as a comment in the Zoom chat box.
Go with a song in your heart. Go with music in your soul. Leave with the memory of a melody. Go with a song in your heart. Go with a song in your heart. Now until we meet again. The joy of music is our gift to you. Go with a song in your heart.
That's the end of service, but please stay for the virtual coffee hour that follows.